Aaron Rodgers is a New York Jet. I don't think any of us are surprised, John. But to answer that question you asked and why I was a little shocked when you asked it, did the Jets get fleeced? I don't. I mean, it depends. I guess it depends. I guess there's a small section of the audience that believes Aaron Rodgers is washed. He's done. What we saw last year is more indicative of what we will see in the future from one Mr. Aaron Rodgers. But I think a majority of people, me included, are on the side of, yeah, that was just a down year. He was dealing with upwards of 4 injuries at one point throughout that season, one to his throwing hand, and he had the lack of chemistry with his receivers. And whether you want to blame that on him for not showing up to OTAs and showing up late, or whatever the fact, but the fact is that the fact is that he didn't have the chemistry, and that'll be important to see and interesting to see when Aaron Rodgers shows up to the New York Jets facility. Right? Will he skip those optional OTAs? Will he be there for the mini camps and et cetera, et cetera? That will be very interesting to see. No, the Jets did not get fleeced because I believe that first off, where I can't, we talked when we talked about this. I don't know, maybe a month ago at this point, a month and a half ago, and I was pretty adamant that if the Packers don't get uh, a pretty damn good haul for Rodgers, they will be the one end up getting fleeced, and that's what I tweeted instantly. The Packers got fleeced. Now I don't know how people in the media are trying to spin it that they got 2 first-round picks for Rodgers. No, they didn't. They swapped a first. Okay, that's not getting a new pick. That's just swapping. And then they
Moving up
got
2
one.
spots.
They got one that can be a first round. But now, do I believe it will become one? Yes, but it's football. It's a contact sport. Anything can happen, and we have seen Aaron Rodgers is injury prone. He's older. Okay, he just dealt with 4 injuries last year. He might miss time. So when I tweeted they didn't get a how you trade an all-time great quarterback, to me, a top 5 quarterback of all time, and who I still believe is the second best quarterback in this league when healthy. How you trade that guy and all you get in return, you don't get a true, let me emphasize, true first round pick is beyond me. Beyond me. Okay, because I'm going to tell you like this. The Jets believe they are getting a Rodgers that will be at MVP level, right? Jets fans believe that. Why else would you? Why? Let me pose it to you this way, John. Why would the Jets make this trade? There's only because they believe they can win a Super Bowl, right? Yeah. So if you believe you're going to win a Super Bowl and you're willing to trade for Aaron Rodgers, it means you believe Aaron Rodgers is going to play an elite level. So again, and I do believe Aaron Rodgers will be playing at elite level. I do expect him to go back to his MVP form. Maybe not winning the MVP, but 30, 35 plus touchdowns, less than 10 interceptions, 65+% completion percentage, 4,000 plus yards. I expect all that from Aaron Rodgers and then some. So I'm so disappointed. The Packers to me were in the catbird seat. They fumbled the bag. They got fleeced. How you don't get multiple first round picks is beyond me. Congrats to the Jets. The Jets front office. I tip my hat to them. They did a great job. But the Packers, man, I just seriously do not understand how this is a success in a lot of people's books. I don't.
I do think it was a fine return for the Packers because he got a top 45 pick as well in the deal in this year's draft. But ultimately, for the Jets, part of why you acquire Rodgers is because not only do you think he can be closer to his pre 2022 level, you also think you had the team to put him in a position to win a Super Bowl. I've made this point before, and the fact that people forget the last time Aaron Rodgers had a top 5 defense, he won a Super Bowl in 2010, is what is really beyond me. Because Aaron, for years, has been failed in the playoffs by that defense. Now, could he have played better in some moments? Sure, as can any quarterback playing in Green Bay. So, given he played in the cold for so long, I think he's built to play in New York. But at the same time, they have a more developed receiver in Garrett Wilson, who last year, with 3 different quarterbacks, had 1,100 yards in his first season out of the Ohio State. You put alongside him McCole Harmon. They added in a couple of other pieces, most notably from the Packers, Alan Lazard, who I think's a wide receiver 3. They kept Corey Davis in this trade, and they also have Denzel Mims, who had a good rookie season. I think in the draft, not having the second round pick means in the third round, they're going to take one more receiver to just add a little bit more talent on the outside. But ultimately for the Jets, this was a win because you also kept a top 15 pick. So you can invest into that right tackle position. Can Max Mitchell be a solid enough right? Maybe. But I think for New York, after adding Laken Tomlinson and Elijah Vera Tucker, who missed a good amount of last season, they're really just a tackle away plus the quarterback. I don't think Aaron Rodgers with a bad offensive line is leading the Jets out the AFC. But can Aaron Rodgers with Breece Hall playing at a high level, a top 5 defense, and a good offensive line go to the Super Bowl? I think the answer to that question is yes. The Packers had talent defensively last year, but they're a poorly coached unit. I think Robert Saleh is a pretty good I think he's a pretty good head coach. And last year, after their 7-win start, the ultimate downfall had little to do with him and mostly to do with the worst quarterback play in the NFL. And so given his pedigree coming out of San Francisco, I'm pretty confident that defense will get better. Sauce Gardner was arguably the best corner in the league as a rookie. Quentin Williams was one of the most absurdly good defensive ends this year. And then you add in John Franklin Myers, Carl Lawson coming off injury. And they also keep in a first round pick from last year and Jermaine Johnson, who people thought they would have had to include in this trade. So you don't give up any players. You give up maybe 2 second round picks. Worst case scenario, if Rodgers stays healthy, a first and a second. That to me is the price you pay for a top 3 quarterback of all time, even if it means it's 1 or 2 seasons. Because Aaron Rodgers at his worst last year would have still been enough for the Jets to win 13 games and the AFC East. Aaron Rodgers at his best might be winning the Jets their first Super Bowl in my lifetime. So that is why, to me, the narrative that they lost this trade is a little bit misguided and somewhat biased from Jet haters.
100%. And I might get some I was thinking about, I had one thought about like this as a Patriots fan. People might be looking at me and be like, oh, you're just hating on the trade because you're a Patriots fan. You're grumpy. Aaron Rodgers is, in your division. No, not at all. That's bullshit. I'm an objective Patriots fan. I can be honest and all that bag of good stuff. I tip my cap to the Jets organization and the front office. Congrats on making this move. I'm literally saying you fleeced the Packers. You got an insane return for not giving up that much. So mazel tov to them. For the Packers, it's just a train wreck in my opinion. And see, like I said, the Jets are hoping when they make this trade, they're hoping they get MVP Rodgers, lead them to a Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl. If that's the case, they completely won on their side of the trade, right? On the Packers side, they're believing Rodgers is done. He's washed. He's going to be too much drama for New York, and he's going to retire after 1 year and be out the door. If that's the case, the Packers obviously won this trade, right? But again, I'm on the camp that Rodgers is not done. He's not washed. He's going to perform at a pretty high level. And to those people that think like, oh, he's done, he's washed, I need to remind you people, right, that not even 2 years ago,
Aaron Rodgers won an MVP. Part of the deal, of course, for New York is that you gave up the first round value in 2 second round picks. But I really do think people are looking at last year where, as BC said, Aaron Rodgers was not healthy with a bad offensive line and no time to gel with those wide receivers. My prediction for 2023 is that Aaron Rodgers throws 35 touchdowns. We'll go 14 of which to Garrett Wilson. He plays 14 games. I don't know if he'll play all 17. And in the games he plays, the Jets go 10-4. The ultimate downside here for New York is that they're in the worst division far and away in the NFL. And I don't know if I should be looking at my camera or myself here. I guess it's probably better to look at myself. Because if you have a top 3 quarterback, maybe the greatest regular season quarterback besides Peyton Manning in NFL history, it's hard to say that the Jets won't at least be in the upper half of the AFC next season. This puts you firmly into the camp of Look, half the conference has an elite quarterback, damn near. At least 7 or 8 of them, if you're now including Rodgers into the fold. So it feels like they're finally coming to the gunfight prepared and not with a knife. And that's what it kind of was last year, Zach Wilson.
Yeah, apologies. So what I was saying is, for the people that say Aaron Rodgers is done, he is washed. Like, need I remind you, people, that not like only 2 years ago, this man was an MVP, back to back MVP, I should say. And I shouldn't have to bring up cases like, I just can't. When I thought about this, when I was thinking about like people saying Aaron Rodgers is washed, and me thinking about these two scenarios. So, Peyton Manning, horrific neck injury, was told by doctors he might not even be able to throw the football ever again. Not even 2 years later, John, that man won an MVP and was in the Super Bowl. Tom Brady, after 2019, people were saying he's done. He's washed. He's too old. He needs to go home. Left New England. Went to Tampa Bay, the losingest franchise in NFL history at the time. In a pandemic year, not being able to work out with his teammates, communicate with his teammates in person, gain chemistry with his teammates, his coaches, et cetera, et cetera. And on a torn freaking MCL, goes to the Super Bowl, wins, the first team ever to win a Super Bowl on their home turf, and wins the Super Bowl MVP. So people saying Aaron Rodgers is done, I give you two cases of Peyton and Brady. Rodgers is not done. Now, you want to have the discussion, will the Jets win a Super Bowl? Will they get to the Super Bowl? That's a whole nother discussion. I'm talking specifically about Aaron Rodgers' play, his football play. He's not done, guys. He's not.